We will call the November 13th meeting of the Caroline County Board of Supervisors to order. I have asked Mr. Underwood if he would deliver the invocation for us.
Can you all stand, please? Gracious and Heavenly Father, once again we come before you as blessed asking Heavenly Father to give us the ears to listen to make decisions about helping us, our Father, to be blessed. Heavenly Father, I ask you special blessings over men and women who in my country who like to see our youth. These are all blessings we ask in your precious name.
Amen. You please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amendments to the agenda. Mr. Cully.
Mr. Chairman, we don't have any amendments to the agenda tonight.
All right, thank you very much. Opening board comments, Mr. Taylor.
Yes, just would like to let the board know about the VACO conference that we attended this past weekend and Monday and Tuesday, and I had the pleasure of working on the agenda for the General Assembly. As you know, the VACO provides a legislative agenda to the General Assembly, and they talk about specific laws that they would like to see passed and specific policy that they would like to see as a part of the legislative packet. And I won't go into the details of that, but it was interesting, and I enjoyed it very much, and I'm sure that we're going to get some benefit from that legislative packet that's being presented to the General Assembly by VACO. That's all that I have.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Black?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I just have a few. First of all, I would like to thank the residents of Caroline County, as well as county staff who spent numerous hours working on the case in front of the State Corporation Commission dealing with Aqua Virginia, the surcharge case. A lot of staff spent a lot of time working on that, sending out resolutions to various counties as well as state legislatures around the state, trying to battle that surcharge. So once again, I can't thank staff enough. They did a great job in getting that out. So we're going to kind of see where that goes over the next couple of weeks and months. Second thing, I'd like to thank, we had an opportunity on Veterans Day, thank the Middle School History Club. We had an opportunity to go there for their Veterans Day ceremony. It was excellent. It's great to see young kids very interested in what the veterans did for this country. The third thing, on the personal property taxes, those lists obviously came out over the last couple of weeks. My only suggestion, the next time, the next go-around, when we do this, is if we could put a magisterial district next to a name, if we could ask the treasurer for that. So because there was a couple instances where names are familiar or names are similar, so a way to kind of narrow it down even more. That was done the last time the Caroline Progress actually did that. That was done by, they did put the name and then they put like the magisterial district like Madison or Bowling Green or wherever.
That was the one done in 1979.
Yeah.
Because probably a few more people now.
Right.
And I'm not sure, maybe our GIS system has some way to map and correlate the two, but we'll ask Mr. Cully to look at doing that.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Underwood?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Just two comments. I drove by the Metal Event Park a couple of days ago, and they put up a really nice light show in the field. If you ever get a chance to drive up Route 30, it's really nice. I stopped in, and it's just really enjoyable. Secondly, we have I don't know if we ever do staff recognitions, Mr. Chairman, but our staff goes above and beyond every time they're called. And I'd just like for us to, at some point, recognize our staff members. I've called on Mr. Whiteman, I've called on Mr. Parton, I've called on Mr. Fincham, I've called on Fran, and they go above and beyond to make sure we get all the information firsthand. So I think at some point, I'd like to have us recognize our staff for the excellent job that they do. Thank you.
Okay. I think there's an event in December for the county employees, and that may be appropriate time to do that. Okay. Mr. Akers?
Mr. Chairman, you recall just a few short years ago, we did have Employee of the Quarter. And,
Yes.
That seemed to work well. And I don't recall whether that was something over and beyond just the certificate recognizing them. It seemed like to me, I remember something that was a small monetary gift card or something that was given to them. That may be something we want to look at again as well.
I think they also got a day off.
I think that may have been it rather than monetary. They may have gotten a day off. I'm not sure. Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Seeley?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I received a phone call, actually probably Tuesday, from a gentleman who was getting rid of shingles at the Bowling Green landfill. And his dismay was that he came in a pickup truck and they had to put them into an open-top box. And we used to have a place where it was actually in a pit and you could actually sort of shove them off your truck into the pit. So I called Mr. Sheevel today, and he said that that became an issue because the dirt had become so saturated there at some points that it would cave in and people would get hurt between the dumpster and the vehicle. And he said the only way to solve that was to actually put up some sort of a concrete barrier that would allow them to permanently put open-top boxes there. I think for the folks that use those kinds of facilities and the number of people that I see bring that and the way we get recycling on some of that material, it may be worth looking at actually figuring out what it would cost to do that and see if we can't find a way to expedite doing that. I just asked staff to take a look at that for us.
I know Mr. Sheebel's here. I saw him
I saw
in the
him.
hallway. But we'll ask Mr. Cully to look at that and see what the cost will be, and then we can make a decision
That's fine. It's just
based on cost.
we could look in the future to do that. It's been gone since February.
Yeah, and that's, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, Mr. Seeley. I have a couple of quick ones. One is, I think all the board received an email from the National Association of Counties regarding payments in lieu of taxes. And that was something Mr. Akers and I remember a long time ago. The county used to get some financial reimbursement from AP Hill based on the amount of land they had. And that, with congressional budget cuts and things, that has been cut out. And now NACO, using their power of all the counties, which really means a lot to us, is trying to get that reinstated. So they've asked for a resolution from each county. I think it would be good for us if we can direct staff to produce that resolution and submit it on our behalf. And if that's okay, we'll ask staff to do that, and we won't necessarily do a vote on it. And the other one was when we start our legislative agenda, Mr. Wilson, as we start our legislative agenda, we had discussions with the State Fair, and based on their attendance this year, which we thought was very good, they are going to start looking at an admissions tax for the county. So if you could start that with Mr. Dillon, we would appreciate that. So I think he said to me directly he would start looking at that at the end of the year once they got the numbers. And I'd like to start that. I don't know how well it's going to be received in Richmond, but if Mr. Dillon wants to do it, I think we'd have a much better chance. And he said he'd be willing to do it, because part of that will help pay for his security, and I know there have been a couple events down there that have cost the county quite a bit of money. So we're going to work on that. That's the only thing I have, and we will move right now to presentations. And we have the Senior Citizens Gala. LJ and Alan, good to see you folks.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it's good to be here this evening. I'm Alan Ramsey. I'm president of the club this year. With me is LJ Moyer. She'll be president next year. But she's also chairman of the Christmas Gala and has been since its onset. And LJ, would you care to say a couple words about the gala?
Yes. Good evening.
Evening.
I just want to say that the first gala we had 15 years ago we had 50 seniors attend from Caroline County. And last gala, the 14th annual, we had 635 seniors. It has become the social event for these wonderful, lovely people of the year. And we are here not only to give you a presentation or a plaque, but we're also here to personally invite you to the gala. It means so much to the senior citizens to see you there. And I know most of you attend. And Mr. Carley, thank you for coming last year. We appreciate that. But I just want to give Mr. Underwood a little heads up. Right now I have 167 seniors signed up from your district. So, and they want to see you, baby.
They'll have to come to Florida.
Okay, all right. We appreciate that, and they do too, and thank you so
Got
much.
a conflict already.
Oh, conflict?
I already know. I looked at it.
No,
Yeah.
December 4th? Oh, Lord. They'll be so disappointed. But maybe next year. Okay, all right. We won't stop trying. But thank you to the rest of you for making them so happy. We all have fun that night, and we love it. And thank you again. I can't tell you how much they appreciate you coming out. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Without further ado, I would like to present this to the board. It says, presented to the Caroline County Board of Supervisors. The Rotary Club of Caroline extends its appreciation to the members of the board for your continuing support in our annual Christmas Gala 2013, Rotary Club of Caroline. Thank you all very much.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure.
Mr. Chairman, can I have 1 minute?
Yes, you may.
I did not look behind me, but there are members of our club here that I did not introduce.
Go right ahead.
Behind me, Mr. Carol Elliott.
Carol Elliott?
Mr. Carol Elliott's in the back. He's a member of our club. Captain Major Moser is here. He's also a member of our club. Thank you all for coming very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey. And just a warning to those that come, make sure they bring their cell phones or whatever video camera equipment they have, because it's very entertaining. And maybe we should try to do the largest, oldest senior gathering. That's where I got hurt. Well, you didn't qualify those as seniors, so. but it's a very nice event. It's fun, and I'll just say Jeff will make it very entertaining, and you can pick which Jeff you want, but it will be entertaining. So we definitely look forward to that. All right, our next agenda item on a more serious note. Right. No, we're going to publish this one. The next thing is we have a report on Abundant Life Academy security issues. I spoke to the sheriff a while back, and he said he would like to come and discuss some issues. This was particularly after the second escape a couple of weeks ago, where it was broadcast on the Caroline Alert that said there were some mental issues with the escapees, and I'm not sure that was true, but that doesn't matter. Major Mosier?
Yes, sir.
Your
Mr. Chairman,
substituting for
members
Sheriff.
of the board, thank you all for having me here tonight to update the Board of Supervisors on this business in Caroline. We've been working with Abundant Life, trying to make it a workable advantage to all the citizens that live in that area as well as the county as a whole. But over the last year, we've had a total of 16 calls at the facility. Now, not all of them are extreme calls, but we did have some 4 paper services, 2 advice calls, animal control call, an accident call, 4 welfare checks. And the welfare checks would be a parent calling from another state saying, I haven't heard from my child, can you go down there and check on them? So we get those as well. One general call, and then 3 missing children. The first incident occurred with a different staff that's currently running Abundant Life now. The children ended up acquiring a gator from the facility, drove it all the way to a Horns restaurant in Port Royal, and ended up in King George. Subsequently, from that incident, we were able to place several criminal charges against individuals that actually were running the facility, and they were taken to court and prosecuted. The last 2 missing children that we had from the facility were an extreme stress on resources from the sheriff's office. We had approximately 40 hours in the second to the last search of manpower, not only from our department, but we also had additional resources from other departments, such as K-9 units searching for the individuals in the woods. We also acquired the state police helicopter, which operates at about $1,500 an hour for fuel for that helicopter.
Do we pay that?
Yes, sir.
We, the county, pays for that?
No, we don't pay for it.
Okay.
No. So you're okay then. They're an assist agency, so they'll come if we call them. But and then the last child that we had missing took about 32 hours of manpower to come to a conclusion on that search as well. So in the nature of the business, you're going to have some kids that are missing. The remote area serves to be an advantage as far as them getting away as quickly as possible, but it has been a strain on our resources to go down to Abundant Life and search for these kids. It certainly is an issue with the amount of manpower that we have to put towards locating the children. We're certainly willing to do it. We just felt like the board deserves to know what kind of resources we're using to keep this facility viable for the county. So the criminal charges were disturbing, but I think a lot of that has been resolved with the new staff there at the facility. But like I said, it is a strain on the resources.
Right.
So
Now, the new staff was there when these last 2 escapes took place.
that is correct.
Okay.
There was some issues about the timeliness of their calling the sheriff's office,
Right.
and that has been addressed, and it was not resolved between the first one and the second one with the new staff, but hopefully it will be resolved. But those amount of hours are certainly taking a drain on our budget and our resources as well. So.
Okay. And I thought one of our conditions was they were supposed to reimburse the county for extra sheriff's hours.
We researched those conditions, and we did not see that in there.
Okay.
So just so you'll be aware so that you can make informed decisions.
We'll fix that.
Okay.
Any questions for Mr. Mosier at this time? Major Mosier at this time?
Well, just a couple Mr. Mosier, thank you for being here, first of all. We appreciate that. I know when we were talking about Abundant Life, and, you know, it was quite controversial, and we finally did approve it. One of the concerns that we had was persons breaking out. And we were kind of told at that time that there was security in place, and, you know, it was, you know, almost, well, nothing is impossible, but it was kind of said that it was as close to being impossible as you could get. And then we also talked about the caliber of student that would be there. And if my memory serves me correctly, we were talking about students who were, quote, I guess for lack of a better term, not bad students, but who needed a second chance and this kind of thing. So I guess my question is, you know, has the caliber of student changed that they're accepting, and what about the security as far as the cameras and all of the other technology that was supposed to be involved in making sure that these young people did not leave, or if they did, in a matter of minutes, they would be notified. And so, okay, that's my question.
Yes, sir. Speaking to the security of the facility, inside the facility, it's very secure. If I was in there, I could not get out. unless I had a card to swipe the door to get out of the facility. But the nature of the actual business, there's a lot of outdoor activities. So when the kids are outdoors, they just take off running from the counselors or the staff, and obviously they can outrun the staff because we've had missing children. As far as the timeliness of the calling, that's an issue that we've approached them with, and hopefully they'll correct that. Now, as far as the criteria of the people that are entered, of the children that are entered in this facility, you know, we don't have access to that information. I can tell you that some of the kids that were missing, we learned that they may be a little bit more lenient than they led us to believe on who they're letting in the facility. But I don't have access. I don't know that I could get access to any type of medical records or information about those kids. So it is concerning about that part.
All right, that's all I have for right now.
Not anything violent, but mainly the drug use and stuff of that nature.
Mr. Black?
Yeah, I just have a couple. First of all, I'd just like to say, obviously from the news and from ALA over the last 6 months, some stuff has come out of there that's been quite disturbing, and I don't disagree with you there. I guess in the board packet we saw that ALA was invited tonight. I guess what...
I asked to have a representative of ALA invited. Mr. Fincham informed me that he was not available today.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, when were they invited?
2 weeks ago? Last week? Before then? Might have been at the end of the last board meeting.
I don't recall specifically. We had that discussion and we made the call the next day.
Right.
Mr. Branding indicated that he had a previous commitment tonight and could not change that commitment, but he said he is available to attend the meeting on December 2nd if the board desires his attendance.
Mr. Chairman, I would say that that would be the next step.
Would you desire his attendance?
Yes, that we should, if we're going to have questions on this, business, they should be able to be here to answer questions that we have, because obviously there's two, I want to have him answer some questions, so it's only fair.
Well, there's only one side to people escaping. There's no two sides to that story, but we should give him an opportunity to explain what's going on.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see.
And really the genesis of this was a discussion with the sheriff. After the alert was put on Caroline Alert, I called the sheriff that morning to say, have they gotten those people yet? And he said no, and then later he called me back. So the sheriff at that time, I invited him to come. I think I called Mr. Fincham later and invited the folks from Abundant Life to come. So the sheriff wasn't able to make it, but he sent Major Mosier. The owner of ALA wasn't able to make it, and he sent nobody. But we will ask for him to come back again December 2nd.
Yes, I would appreciate it. The other thing, we can, on their special, we can put rules down that, for example, when there's an escape, because it costs the county money, we can put the rules down saying that they pay for the search.
I believe Mr. Fincham has said that under the health and welfare and safety of the neighboring community, we can look at their renewal earlier.
I think we would just have to look and confirm what are in the conditions for that essay. I can't recall off the top of my head. But,
We can look at that. I'm going to ask Ms. Cosby if she'll take a look at that, or if that's Mr. Emerson, either one. Mr. Underwood, did you have I'm sorry, get more.
And as far as the number of calls, I understand the strain, but as far as the number of calls, if someone calls 911 or comes to you guys 20 times a year, is there a limit to how many times a citizen can call the sheriff's department?
There's no limit.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure.
No limit for ALA either.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Underwood, you have any questions?
No questions at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Akers?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to, if possible, have Mr. Fincham and certainly the sheriff, because as Mr. Taylor said, when this project was finally approved, that was a great deal of security. That was one of the main issues when we first talked about this process, and in fact turned it down because of the security issues. And I was under the impression that they had gone beyond what was required, inside and outside, to protect the citizens that were around the AELA facility. So I would very much like to see us have that information that was given to us originally, and then you verify that all of those things have been done, or your department, the Sheriff's Department, verify that all of those procedures have been put in place and everything that has been done that they said they were going to do. If not, then I want to know why the sheriff hasn't required it, to be quite honest with you, and why they haven't provided those security measures that we were promised, the board was promised, that was going to be put into place. And I'd like to have that at the next meeting as well, and then we can discuss with Paul and his representatives as to why these things have not been done.
Mr. Akers, as far as the private facility goes, they did come to us with some recommendations for security. Some recommendations were made, but that's a private facility. We could not run that facility or tell them what they had to do, but we did make some recommendations. But they did provide a very secure atmosphere inside the facility. That is not where the problems are coming from. The problems are coming from when they're outside and they just take off running.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I understand what you said earlier, but I was under the impression that it was on the outside as well. And I realize that you cannot require them, but if it was put into the special exception that we approved as conditions, then the board can require them, and we need to know what they're not doing.
Maybe we can work with one of your staff members, and then we'll both be on the same
Thank
page.
you.
That'd be great. Thank you, sir.
Questions, Mr. Sealy?
I have none, but I'm sure I will talk with the sheriff before the December 2nd meeting.
Major Mosier, I think you understand the board's concern, and
Sure.
we do appreciate you coming in lieu of the sheriff. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, our next agenda item is the proposed use of energy performance-based contracting. And who would you be, sir?
I don't know who I am, actually.
Alan Parton with the beard. Okay, Mr. Parton.
Don't get used to it. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, a staff committee consisting of Mr. Schiebel, Mr. Whiteman, Mike Allen, and me recently met with Charlie Barksdale of the Virginia Department of Mines, Minerals, and Energy to talk about the topic of energy performance contracting and see if it would have some application in Caroline County as a cost-saving measure. Energy performance contracting is actually encouraged and supported by legislation that the General Assembly adopted back in 2001, I believe. And what it does is it allows both the state and local governments to reduce energy consumption and actually pay for upgrades with the savings itself at no cost to the county. The process is designed to protect the county. There are requirements in place on the contractor that they deliver what they say they're going to deliver, and the savings are guaranteed and bonded. As I mentioned, DMME oversees the process. Mr. Barksdale is very much involved in that, and what I'd like to do is ask him to kind of walk you through the process about how that works, and then we would ask for authorization to take an initial step in the process after that. Mr. Barksdale, by the way, is a former county resident. In fact, my neighbor right across the street, and then he had to leave, unfortunately. But with that, Mr. Barksdale.
Good evening, Mr. Barksdale.
Good evening. Mr. Chairman and the board, I think you have this packet in front of you.
Yes.
So I'm going to go through this as deeply as you want me to, as quickly or as slowly as you want me to.
How about quickly, since this is our first experience?
Okay. We'll go through this rather quickly. Legislation was passed in 2001, as it says, and as Mr. Parton said, performance contracting allows you to green or upgrade your facilities by reallocating existing energy spend. Using the self-funding project frees up existing dollars to fund other unfunded needs. I work with public bodies all over the state, and everybody's in the same boat. They don't have much money in pocket. And we're probably surpassing $700 million under contract doing this in the Commonwealth this year. Everybody's doing it, from small counties to major school systems, to almost every state agency in the Commonwealth. It is a DGS contract for all public bodies. There are 18 pre-qualified energy service companies on this contract. They're listed. And I'll briefly go through the process. Okay? You would select 4 or more of these companies from this list, bring them in for a back of the envelope or a BOE, and that is a preliminary audit of some facilities that you would select from the facilities you have here in the county. They would go through these facilities. They would run numbers on what work they could do from a 30,000-foot level, come back, they would give a presentation on what they found, and at that point, you could decide whether or not performance contracting was a fit for you, and if you had a viable project that you could do work in the county and have it paid for with the energy savings or the avoided energy cost. Up to that point, there is no cost to the county whatsoever. The General Assembly set this up so it's revenue neutral to you. So up to that point, it doesn't cost you anything. The next phase would be the technical audit if you decide to move forward. An investment grade energy audit is done with the ESCO that you select as a partner. At the end of that, you would have a project that has guaranteed numbers. All the savings are bonded. You get a yearly bond on the energy savings, which is far different from past performance contracting things that were done in the state. And you move into construction and you do your project. I won't go through about putting money in because most people aren't able to do that. You can do other things besides energy under these projects. We have a lot of school systems that are putting in security systems, voice over IP, cameras, card swipe access, things like that. The code does allow for that. Okay?
That was going to be my question, defining the project.
Defining?
So, yeah, we have school projects that would come through the county, or you would go directly to schools?
You can do that through the school. Of course, the school does something, they have to come through the governing board here. I'm just letting you know that you can do that, like you could do security systems here in this building if you wanted to. We do it in schools all over the state.
But how would the security system save energy?
Most of the time, it's done for a safety and a technological upgrade to the facility.
Okay.
This is not just energy. It's infrastructure upgrades. It's technological upgrades, things such of that nature. The only thing you can't do through performance contracting is build a building. Pretty much you can do anything else.
But I could renovate a building.
You could do some renovations inside, but not build walls. But if you needed to put new HVAC in, new lighting in, new controls in, things like that,
I could change from oil to natural gas.
Absolutely. New roofs, new windows, we do that all the time.
Okay.
Controls. Excuse me, I'm having to go through these. I want to get to the end.
Okay.
After you select your ESCO, your partner, it becomes a typical construction project, and they're paid through a schedule of values just like you would have anybody else on a construction project. Construction normally lasts anywhere from 9 months to, we've seen some of them last 2 years because of the scope and the size of the project. Some of the schools and some of the things, agencies in the Commonwealth. There is an extensive measurement and verification process that's built into this contract where the ESCO has to measure and verify on a yearly basis by code the savings to show you in a report that they met those savings. And starting from tonight, if you decide to go forward with this, you have our support, and I'll be here every step of the way, and it's no cost to you because the General Assembly passed a bill that I do that.
And you're with Department of Mines, Minerals, and Energy?
Yes, sir. Okay. Some pitfalls. You need early support top to bottom. I think that's why we're here tonight. Understand that your guarantee is in units of energy and in not dollars. The ESCOs will save you X number of kilowatt hours, X number of gallons of oil, X number of gallons of water, things like that, correlated to what that cost, that utility cost is. That's where the dollar figure comes in. Okay? Avoided cost versus savings. You need a very good, fully vetted scope. There are some things you do look at if you decide to do this, that if you're going to renovate a building, you don't want to look at a performance contract if you're going to tear it down because the savings will not be realized in the work that you do. There have been successes all over the state. They're listed. I won't read them. But I'll get to the parting thoughts. Performance contracting brings a lot of things to the table that normal construction projects do not. It's fully open and transparent, open book pricing on these projects. You get to, I don't know how many are familiar with construction projects, but you do low bid, and the contractors come in, and next thing you know, the change orders hit you, and you're paying 50% more than what the low bid was. These contracts are firm fixed costs. There are no change orders. If the ESCO misses something, it's a performance contract. They pay for it with their nickel. Overhead and profit, audit fees, all those things are negotiated. The technical audit carries a fee with it. If you move forward with your project, it's rolled over into the project and paid for with energy savings. The General Assembly set it up where it's revenue neutral to you. Recently, I've been able to help people negotiate a zero audit fee with most of these ESCOs because they know that people do not have money. It's very tight out there, and we get them to go for a zero audit fee. You get to select the equipment, or your facilities people do. It's not low bid stuff that you don't know what you're getting. You have a say in the subcontractors. You get to let them know who you want on site and those that you don't want on site if you do a project. All the ESCOs we work with, we try and get them to pick and use local contractors if possible for the economic development in this area. If you already have a viable project, which from my understanding, Mr. Parton, there was a preliminary study done that you do have some savings in some of these facilities, you're already paying for a performance contract. You're just giving that money to the utility companies. What we do with this program is make you run more efficiently, pay them less, and the money you used to give them pays for the work to upgrade your facilities. That's how it works. The avoided energy costs are bonded and guaranteed. And one of the nice things as a taxpayer that I like is if the ESCO misses their mark, they write a check for the difference because it's revenue neutral to you. And they bring in their engineers and they find out how it was missed and they fix it on their nickel. That has happened several times in the Commonwealth. I think 5 jobs, less than 0.5% of $682 million worth of work so far. ESCOs have missed the mark. They wrote a check. They came in and spent their money and they fixed it. Everybody's back on track to date. That was very fast. But if anyone has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Excuse me, we do appreciate your brevity. I believe we have a 2-on-2 schedule with the school board, and I know they've got a couple of projects. Would the board like us to address that tomorrow at the 2-on-2, and then from there direct staff as to how to proceed? Does that sound fair? Okay. It sounds like something we definitely would like to look into further.
Yes, sir.
Especially since the first part is totally free.
It is.
We really like that.
Yeah, I recommend to people all over the state, again, as a taxpayer, do the BOE because it doesn't cost you anything.
Right.
And if you have a project, then you can make the decision whether or not it's a fit for you.
Well, that's I think the approach we'd like to take. We just want to get input from the schools and have at least a consolidated effort rather than us doing something and them doing something different. So we'd like to keep it all under, one project.
Yes, sir,
scope,
and
sort of way.
that'd be beneficial to the school system and the county. And from what I understand, the school system did one of these projects years ago, and
Yes.
I hear it didn't turn out so well, but what they did is not what this is. This is under legislation from the state, and at that time, they didn't have a person like me and the Department of Energy working with them, and they would have our support, and I'll be glad to talk to them if they need to explain how this program is different from the other one.
Well, I think whatever we do, we're going to do jointly.
Okay?
And you've been working with Mr. Parton, so we're going to leave him as the point man, and he will probably get in touch with you late tomorrow or first thing next week.
I'm available anytime.
Okay. Well, we sure appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to move to appointments quickly. We have appointments for Madison Recreation Advisory
Mr.
Committee.
Chairman, could we move, and I'll have someone, hope to
Yes,
have
sir.
someone for December.
And for the Building Code Board of Appeals, Mr. Pitts has said he's willing to serve again, so I would appreciate a motion for the Mattapanai District
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we reappoint Bernard Pitts as the Mattaponi District Representative for Building Code Board of Appeals.
Thank you. There's
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Seeley, seconded by Mr. Akers and Mr. Taylor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carries. Is anybody ready for Board of Assessors?
Can I get a description of what that entails, or what type of person?
Oh, you have to be a county resident, of course, and you have to own real estate. And what else was required? I don't think that was a requirement.
There's no special,
You just have to own real estate.
They have to receive training, or at least,
Yeah.
be willing to take training.
yes. But
And
beyond those two requirements, I don't think there's any other requirement other than county resident and landowner for the Board of Assessors, correct? Right.
The Board of Equalization. Right. Okay. Why don't, because if we don't have 6 right now, we're in trouble. You have one?
I do have one, Mr. Chairman. If you
Mr. Taylor, you have one?
Not at this
Mr.
time.
Underwood? All right. All right, you're the head of the class. We'll do the first one Mr. Black has.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to appoint Robert Wilson to the Board of Assessors, please.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
All right. Robert Wilson for the Western Carolina District. All right, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. We will carry this over to our December 2nd meeting, and we need to have these by when? When's our last date? Do you remember, Mr. Parton? We don't want
We
to wait
could have
till
them
the
in
day
December. The sooner the better. December would be great. I guess there's 2 opportunities in December, the 2nd and the 9th.
Mr. Cully's trying to twist my arm to not meet on the 9th, so
All right, then you'll have them by the 2nd, right?
we'll try to have them by the 2nd, or it'll be January sometime. We might have a special meeting in December, but, all right, we'll work something out. The rest of us will strive to get somebody. Mr. Partner, can you make sure you send us a description of what the board's duties are so we can pass those on? Excuse me? Yeah, and last 4 or 5 years ago, who served last time? All righty, consent agenda, items A through G. We're going to pull agenda item F, which is approval of the Ladysmith Library payment. There's some more information. I believe one of the other board members has requested. Mr. Cully's going to get that for us, and that we're going to take care of on December 2nd. So is there anything else the board would like to have pulled? A through E and item G. If not, a
If
motion.
not, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items A through G, excluding F, for the amendment to the Ladysmith Library payment.
So moved.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. May I have the board's indulgence and do agenda item number 6? That's yours, Mr. Fincham. This is a request to share a drain field for residential property due to medical hardship. I don't know if the applicant's here, but I wouldn't want the applicant to wait till, he's here?
They're there.
Oh, you want to wait until we do all these public hearings, or you wanted me to squeeze it in now? I figured you would say that. Mr. Fincham, agenda item number 6, please.
Mr. Chairman, you have a request to allow a joint use of an existing drain field for a medical hardship. You have the request and the supplemental information in your packet. A temporary structure for a medical hardship is allowed as an accessory use in the zoning ordinance. So that issue in and of itself is not for board consideration tonight. The issue is the use of the joint drain field, which does require Board of Supervisors approval under the county code. There's also a provision that would otherwise allow a family apartment, which the applicant might very well qualify for, which is actually less stringent than the medical hardship request that they are making, in that the medical hardship has to be renewed every 5 years. If it continues, once the hardship ceases, the structure has to be physically removed from the property. So we actually think that the request that's being made is more stringent than otherwise allowed under other